Ladies and gentlemen, we gotta start that again. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 5 of the Magic Through Wrestling podcast. I'm here with Maury. I'm here with Bill DeMott. I'm here with #AudioVon. Guys, buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be a wild ride.
You can't say that.
Why can't I say that?
You can't say ladies and gentlemen. Well, you can't say it because there's someone out there who's going to be upset by that. Whoa, the voice of business in the back.
Business. Yeah. All right, here we go.
All right. You can't say ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk about this right now. You're leaving people out. What if there's kids? They're not adults. What if they're 60?
What about the cats listening?
I got this.
I'm sorry,
I got this. Welcome to the Magic Through Wrestling podcast. Anybody who is listening to this, whether you're a lady, gentleman, cat, Maury, Bill, AudioVon, doesn't matter. We are here for everybody. Buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be a wild ride.
No, I feel like you singled us out now because you still said even if you're a lady or gentleman. I feel like that's not a good thing.
Bill falls into one of those categories.
I just feel like AudioVon, speak up here. I mean, don't speak up because you kill your gimmick. Come on. He said ladies and gentlemen again.
He did. But he did say cats, and we have a couple of those.
No. What happens to the cats that don't talk? What if you're a deaf cat?
That's true.
How about, hey, everybody, episode
Jimmy,
5.
you're going to get us kicked off the air. I mean, it's just as simple as that.
Jimmy can't breathe.
Jimmy, hey, everybody, it's episode 5. Buckle your seatbelts.
Oh, my God. All right, here we go. Take 3.
Am I leaving this in the...
I don't care.
Yes.
This is great. If you're still listening.
This reminds me of the time that Sean Stasiak was supposed to do a promo live, and and all he had to do was run into the shot. This is when Kurt Angle was shooting everybody with the milk in Austin and everybody, and we would step the invasion gimmick, and Stasiak had to say one line and run in, and all he was concerned with was what color tights should he have on. So he comes in with the tights, screwed the line up because I think I should be wearing pink, and finally Stephanie McMahon blows her top and goes, "Get him the hell out of the promo."
You know what you just said reminded me of, right? What color tights? My cousin Vinny.
He doesn't wear tights.
No, I know he doesn't wear tights. You know my cousin. But I'm talking about Joe Pesci, my cousin Vinny, right? I'm going hunting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Got to find a deer.
Yeah.
You think it really matters what kind of pants that,
Right.
Right? It doesn't matter.
So why say ladies and gentlemen?
So listening.
Everybody listening.
If you are still listening, God bless you. But thank you.
I don't think you can say that.
I think I just did.
Bill, I thought we didn't care about offending.
Yeah. Well, listen. Okay, I got this. If you're still listening, thank you.
That might
Please,
be the.
That is the
Shut
best
up, Maury.
open
Do
ever.
not turn this off. This is actually going to be a legitimate episode. We're going to have a lot of fun. We already have. I'm catching my breath. We're here with everybody. We have the whole team here for a great, great episode. If you are a new listener and you're still listening,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for not turning us off. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to go back to all the other episodes. Check us out. Give us a 5-star review. Give us a like on each episode. Tell us which one was your favorite episode. Hopefully it's going to be this one right here, and we're going to have a great time here.
This is the residue off the Billy Gunn episode.
This is
like what was left of.
I feel like he's like burned our brain.
Yeah, this is what's
here.
left
Yes.
of. So now that's all. Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So, Bill, not Billy Gunn, but if you haven't heard the Billy Gunn episode, go ahead and listen. Billy Gunn takes over the podcast.
Episode number 4.
Yeah, episode number 4. That would be 4, Bill.
Which
1,
is
2, 3,
why
4.
Jimmy said, "Welcome to episode number 5."
5, because 4 is.
But people might not know that Billy Gunn was 4. They might have thought he was 3.
Why is 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9.
If you
Hashtag 789.
hashtag 789.
Biggest thing this whole episode. Hashtag 789.
I thought Bill was the one that came up with the hashtag.
Oh, I've got one. I got one.
I bet he's got a couple.
I bet he does.
I got one.
So listen, in this episode, guys, right? Well, first of all, before we get into the meat of this episode, Bill, what have you been up to this week? What have you been up to since we recorded last?
I've done absolutely nothing. I've eaten meat. You guys tried to turn me into a vegan.
Call back.
Everybody tried to do the thing, you feel better. I felt better with a steak. I feel good. I've done nothing. As anyone knows, we're based in Florida, and it's cooled off to a nice, cool 97 degrees. So I hate.
Bill, did you do your homework and watch the vegan documentaries?
I actually turned it on, and hit play, and then I got distracted.
That's
I
better
think I
than-
started building a car model or something.
Listen, that's better than Maury. It's still in his playlist.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to turn it on so that I could want to turn it off.
I'll tell you
but
what I didn't do
I didn't get
today,
there.
though I've done the rest of the week, was have dinner.
You have not done that.
No.
Why have you not had dinner
Well,
today,
because, we stay in contact throughout the week. We're kind of a close-knit group here. Audio Vaughn, everybody's in. Mrs. Vaughn, great conversation. She's leaving the country later. We talked about Italians and Spaniards. Maury, I'm bringing food. Be there soon. Audio Vaughn and I come. Empty bellies, ready to eat. Maury walks in with a lunch bag like he's in the 3rd grade with half a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and goes, "What's up, bitches?" No food. Audio Vaughn's been chewing a teacup for 45 minutes. I'm sucking the bottle of water over here. Maury's full, changed into his pajamas. Episode 5. That's what I've been doing this week.
It was a small oversight.
Yeah.
And I apologize.
Yeah.
honestly.
Never do that again.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Like, you guys want me to order a pizza? I'll order. Somebody call Domino's right now.
No.
okay?
No. If you're gonna order pizza, you're gonna order a bunch. We're gonna need a Lazy Moon pizza. I mean, have you have you
Lazy
seen
Tell
us?
the non-Floridians about Lazy
Have
Moon.
you seen us?
Lazy Moon pizza. I've never seen nothing like that in my life.
Right? Okay, if you were not
I've never
from
eaten Lazy Moon. So
It's the
tell
size
me.
of a Corolla.
It is. He's not. Look, Google it right now. Lazy Moon Pizza. If you have not seen it, this thing is huge. This thing would feed Bill DeMott, and that's probably it. But
One slice. If you eat one slice, you're done.
it's. I kid you not. It's about the size.
It's the size of a wagon wheel.
Yeah, it's huge. It is. It's absolutely
Okay,
huge.
I've eaten there, and
How many
I
pizzas
get,
at once?
I get 2, and I usually struggle
pizzas?
on
Two
the second-
pizzas?
Pieces.
Oh.
And I usually struggle on the second one, and then you see like families of 50 with their family reunion.
Yeah,
they haven't
it's
seen
like
each other in 12 years. They get one pizza, and it
I could legitimately go there this year for Thanksgiving if they put turkey on it.
Yeah.
definitely. It is.
They,
it
they
is
should do
massive.
that. They should. They should make a
Turkey
Thanksgiving
pizza.
pizza. I would do it. Mashed potatoes, a little gravy,
No. See, you
turkey.
You went over.
Hashtag turkey at Lazy Moon.
No,
No,
789.
okay.
That's not
Yep,
a good
7, hashtag 789. That's
So
good.
far.
Yep. All right. So, Maury, what have you done this week since the last episode?
A lot of video editing, my friend. Working on our feature film that we're doing. So we're doing a lot of production stuff, a lot of post-production of the stuff we already have. It's been a crazy week.
Yeah. So, I'm glad you guys asked what I've been doing. Thank you very much. So,
Jimmy, what have you been doing?
Oh,
Wait
thank
a
you.
minute, you're leading it. How can we ask you?
I'm giving you the
I
credit.
also helped some guy move, too.
Oh, that's you're probably a really nice guy to do that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, Jimmy, I have a question for you. What'd you do this week?
So, I'll tell you, I had a show.
That was me, by the way. In
That
case
was-
people didn't know.
that was
Audio
Bill
Vaughn.
DeMont.
That was Bill DeMont. That was my game show voice.
That was a good game for
So,
me.
Jimmy,
Didn't know it was your.
come on down.
You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. So,
I mean, it's already a show, but he
that-
could have one.
He
similar.
could.
Drew Carey does Price is Right.
And
I know he's good.
He's a Hall of Famer.
That's right.
What is that, a shot? What the hell? What the hell was that?
Jimmy, I know. I wouldn't
What
have
was
said
that? We weren't even going there.
I know. I thought we were still
Okay,
in
so
the-
the answer to the meeting the answer to all my questions is no. Drew Carey made the Hall of Fame?
There's, I mean,
Nah. What'd you do this week, Jimmy?
Drew Carey made the Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I had a great show. I had the Out of Control Magic Comedy Dinner Show on Halloween. It was fantastic. It was a great audience, a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. If you haven't been out, go ahead and check it out at Wonderworks on International Drive in Orlando, Florida. So,
Wait, what's the? You got to give the real
Come on,
spiel,
do the whole
though.
thing,
Dude,
man.
Come on, man. You
all right,
can't
here we go.
half-ass it.
So, the Out of Control Magic Comedy Dinner Show for $29.99. You can enjoy. You can eat pizza, salad, soda, wine, beer, dessert, unlimited laughs, unlimited fun.
That's good.
And
That's really good.
as Billy Gunn would say, if you want to hear that again in regular speed, just go ahead and play that back in slow motion.
Fast.
Yeah,
Was anybody dressed up?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
No, nobody was dressed up. It was a good group. It was small. There was about 40 people there. It was kind of an intimate show, but it was really, really good show. Good audience.
There were kids for trick or treat, right? And there were some really good. Like I felt good this year. Usually, kids just come with a pillowcase and go trick or treat, and they're 16 years old, and you know that pork belly. All he wants is all the chocolate he can eat, right? but all the kids were coming dressed up, but they were dripping wet. It was so hot.
So they were
Right.
working for it.
Kids were like, little kids, they were sweating, like they were taking their stuff off. And I started giving them water instead of candy. Like, please sit here and have some water. It was so hot.
So let me ask you this: what was the most creative costume you saw?
Little girl, pink flamingo, all feathers. She was just the cutest thing I ever saw. She won.
Oh, awesome!
She won.
That's
There was
good.
some really cool stuff this year. I thought it was really, like the kids have imagination. There was a lot of clowns.
Do you
A
don't
lot
like
of them clowns with the red balloons.
You don't like clowns? No.
But Tim Curry was it. That's a good clown.
What's Tim Curry?
It. He played. You'll
That's the
float.
scary stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for the birds.
Yeah. You'll float too, Bill.
No,
Yeah, you flip too.
It's okay. We have candy down
I
here.
can't kill it.
Did Amore, did you?
Ronald
have any, Ronald McDonald, he's a good clown.
handed
He's the
out-
most killer out of everybody.
We did hand out candy. I think the highlight of the night was like it was almost midnight or something, and we got a knock on the door. I mean, it was.
That's because somebody was trying to break into your house.
It's
Amore.
not a
That's
knock
what-
on
that's
the
what
door.
my
It's a
wife
home
said.
invasion.
That's exactly.
That's what my wife said. I was like, I heard a couple knocks, and I'm like,
Did you answer it?
no, but I went and peered out my bay window, and I didn't see anything, and that got me a little bit more freaked out.
Oh, you want to talk about clowns now?
Maury, what would if you would have just saw a red balloon right outside your window?
Oh my gosh!
8:30. My lights go out in the front. Let everybody know
We're
we're
done.
done. So by 10 o'clock, I put my night lights on so everything goes back out.
Yeah.
Don't come to my house no more.
Did Billy go trick or treating?
Billy went.
What was Billy?
He was a cyclops,
Oh, nice.
except he had that mask on. He was soaking wet. He come home with 2 bags of candy.
I love to see these kids working for the candy.
That's
you know?
right.
They're not in like a cushy 60-degree breeze.
But then you have to sit there, as a parent, you have to sit there, and then you have to go through the candy. So he looks at me like I'm building a pile, like 1 for you, 1 for me, 2 for you, 1, 2 for me. That's not how it goes. I just take all his candy at the end.
Right.
But I go through to see what looks good, what does, because of all the
Yep.
wackadoo stuff
people
you hear.
putting drugs in it.
So
now.
every year I put the thing in front of me, we go through it, and I try to explain to him. And he goes, so this year he goes, it's not good because you don't like it, or it's not good because you don't like how it looks.
He's your
That's
son.
a pretty good.
That is okay. Now
pretty good
here's my
question.
question. Now this, what kind of candy do you give out?
Oh, it's Halloween. You got to give out like everything. Chocolate. You got to give out the.
Let me rephrase. Are you the regular size person? Are
no,
you the
no, no.
minis? Are
Listen,
you a
listen.
sweet tart?
Are you a
or are
good
you like a
size
Reese's?
Listen.
Or do you give out the king size bars?
Listen.
Those are the
The
good
Dungeon
people.
of Doom days are over. Those paychecks ain't coming in no more. I'm splitting the bite-sized one between 3 kids. I'm the guy with the knife cutting into thirds going, are you guys related? Because you're all getting a third of that.
What about you? But what kind of candy did you give out?
We got one of those big, like, mixed 150-piece bags.
Yeah.
But
For
you know what I want-
$45.
Yeah. You know what I wanted to give out, though? What I used to get as a kid?
What?
Those popcorn balls.
Listen,
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, not anymore.
I don't think kids would like it, but the popcorn balls were everything.
my kid's not coming home with balls.
Well, on that note, so
No balls on home.
let's get into the where were you when segment. How does that sound?
Yeah, I think it's great. That was a huge hit before. That was our 2nd episode, and now we're in episode 5. But our special friend here, Bill, was not a part of that episode before.
What
so
was the
just you and
first
me.
one? Where were you?
Were you in? So the first one,
I should know that, but I don't.
you should. So in the first, where we talked about some key moments in wrestling history.
A
Oh,
bevy of topics, as they say.
We did. You need to cue cards. Don't say it unless you can't spell it. So, Bill, we have some questions for you. right?
Okay.
We want to know. Our listeners want to know.
am I getting graded? I do my best.
You do your best.
Okay.
Where were you when certain events happened?
Okay.
Right. So, one of the ones that was sent in to us here, Bill, where were you when?
And
right.
can I just real quick preface? Don't be the schmuck on Twitter who goes, "No, that was definitely the next year after." We're trying to get close here. It doesn't
Oh,
matter
I
if it's
full
the exact
disclosure.
day.
If you tell me, I'm gonna probably ask the year and give you within a month or so.
Got it.
So
So,
on Twitter, if you're listening, we're gonna get
Don't
close.
beat me up over it.
so I'm going to ask you that. We're going to start off with a close one to you. Bill.
Okay.
So, Bill, where were you the night that Mankind won his first WWF World Championship with the famous, that'll put some butts in the seats?
What was that?
That was Mankind winning the first WWF Championship on Monday Night Raw. Tony Schiavone says, yeah, that'll put some butts in seats. This is when WCW was giving the spoilers away
Right.
to Raw.
Right.
Where were you?
I was in the locker room.
Got it. What was the – thank you for being so
January
specific.
4th, 1999. So
1999, yeah. So by that time, we were watching that stuff because that's just the way it was going, with the ratings wars and everything. So we were, they were giving it away out front, but we were still watching it because the wars weren't the boys. The wars were the companies. So you're big fans of it. You're big fans of what was happening and to see what they could do, because that was the challenge was, well, whatever they're going to do, let's see if we can outdo it. Not necessarily a stunt or anything, but okay, how do you go about it? Why is he getting over? Because a lot of guys at that time, to be perfectly honest, were looking to jump ship anyway. So let me see what they're doing. And then you got Mick doing all his stuff, and you go, well, crap. I can't tell you the town we were in. All I know is we were watching everything. And I know for a fact that their TVs were set on everything we're doing. I wasn't a fan of that, by the way,
Which one?
giving away what the shows were.
Right.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you exactly what I was doing. I just know we were working that night and we were watching.
Did you have any specific feeling on seeing him win?
Yeah, because if I remember right, they built it up perfectly. I mean, it's Mankind. He wasn't built like The Rock. He wasn't Shawn Michaels cool. He wasn't The Undertaker. He didn't have that kind of persona.
Right.
He had the hair. He ripped it out. He was an ugly son of a gun. And
Tough son of a gun.
But people followed him because they dug his heart and
Yeah.
the way he talked. So when Mick won it, it's the same as anybody else. Mick won it and made okay. And everybody thinks, it's just a wrestling story. But the fact that Mick could do it, anybody could do it.
Right. That's good.
That was terrible because I can't tell you exactly what.
No,
I mean,
that
you
was
would have
good.
been in the locker room for
Yeah.
sure.
Sure.
But I think the cool thing is like going into how you felt and stuff.
So let's talk about this one, right? Another big moment in professional wrestling history. And you don't have to say you were exactly like you physically were.
Okay.
However, what was the feeling behind the moment when you would happen, right? What was going through your mind or the mind around all the workers in the back? Let's talk about November 1997 and the Montreal Screwjob.
Yeah,
Okay, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and Bret coming to WCW. What was the feeling? What was going on back then? Where were you? What was going through
for the
everyone's
guys who
mind?
weren't in the know,
Right.
we were screwed.
Of Bret coming over?
Yeah, we were screwed. Here comes another guy.
Right.
So whatever traction you had built up, you're moving back down at least another peg.
Right.
And the whole thing was a work as far as we were concerned.
So the kind of feeling backstage was everything was a work on it.
Everything in wrestling,
Even
was a
when
work.
he did the air WCW.
Everything, yeah. And you've heard the stories since then, and everybody's come out in the documentary style answers and all that.
Yeah.
It was a work.
You
Tell
think
me
it was work?
tell me whatever you want. It was all predetermined. I mean, the fact that I guess you get to punch Vince in the mouth one time legit is cool, but
Yeah, I mean,
being there and knowing that, and I'll say it on record, don't put it beyond Vince to get punched in the mouth to make a point and to make a story go through. So that's just one guy's opinion. I thought it was a work, and then I thought, well, how do you climb this mountain? Because it's Bret Hart. You already had Hogan, you had Nash, you had Hall, you had all these Savage, you had all these players, and here comes Bret Hart.
When did you find out he was actually coming over to WCW?
That night. That's when everybody
Whenever he
talked
did
about
the
it.
WCW in the air.
And everybody still questioned it because it was one of those things where he's just pissed off enough where he did that on their TV. So it's still questionable if he would come in. And then, when he came in, everybody was like,
all right, let's go to
None of those things were ever good. They always stirred the pot. None of them were ever good.
I can imagine it lends to a lot of
It sucked.
thinking and imagination in the back of what does this do to me now.
Yeah. So let's go to a more current where were you in, right? So this year, let's talk about April of 2019, right? Where were you when somebody you trained, right? Kofi Kingston
Yeah.
wins his first world championship.
Yeah, I was home. We were, whatever it is, whatever situation it was, we were home. And it's funny because all those guys, Kofi and I have been together since 2005 when he came to Deep South Wrestling in Atlanta, and I was running that territory. So I got to know Kofi really well, and we got to I always say I had an opportunity to get involved in what he was doing and help him and stuff like that. And you stay in touch with those guys. So always for me, guy or girl, to this day, till this very day, if they trained with me in some way, shape, or form, and we had a relationship, at least a working relationship, whenever they made an accomplishment, I send them a message. And it was simply, it's probably something funny like, well, that took a little longer than I thought, but congratulations, proud of you and all that stuff. And there he is 10 minutes later in all his glory and everything he's celebrating. It's a life-changing, I don't care what anybody says, it's a life-changing event, especially for a guy like Kofi Kingston. So for my phone to blow up and go, Coach, thank you, and sent me this big, long answer of how he made it, why he made it, what my part was, and everything like that. And you sit there and go, that's what it's supposed to be about.
Right.
That's what it was about. Did the same thing with Randy Orton, did the same thing with Brock Lesnar, did the same thing with Bayley, did the same thing with Sasha, did the same thing up and down the line, the same thing, The Miz, and all together. But when Kofi won it, you're like, there we go.
Right.
And no matter what people say, that's what burns me. People don't just take wrestling at face value. It's entertainment. We already know that.
Right.
Leave it alone and quit with all the other stuff. The guy became world heavyweight champion who wasn't supposed to. Oh, now it's a new day. Now it's no, how about just celebrate that? And he held it.
Yeah.
And he did a good job with it. And he ran with it. And I thought it was a very unique way of dropping it when he did drop it to Brock. But I look at things differently in wrestling. But I when we were home that night, because Lacey always goes, it's one of your boys. Awesome. She reminds me, that's one of your girls, that's one of your boys, and the kids are still, Casey, 26, and she goes, remember the time when Kofi, because she has pictures with all of them growing up with them. So it's, for me, it's different than everybody else who sees it.
Right.
I sit back, there's that little minute of big chest swelling going, yeah.
That's your boy.
Boom, boom, boom. I remember
that proud moment.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Gotta be really
it's always cool.
So talking about proud moments, right? And I hope you remember where you were with this moment. But let's talk
about you or me.
You,
He's
Bill.
talking to you.
Let's talk about you. What was it like, and when did you find out that you were going to get a run with the United States Championship?
Oh boy, we were in Vegas. I think Vegas was the pay-per-view, and we've been going Team Canada, and I'm a huge Lance Storm fan. Anybody ever talks bad about Lance Storm in front of me, near me, or within 1,000 miles should never come near me again. A huge Lance Storm fan, and I think it was a handicap where it was Lance and Duggan against me or something like that, and I think I took it on Duggan. And I always get chastised for that night because when I hit the moonsault, it's Hacksaw Jim Duggan. One, he's a friend of mine. Two, I don't want to hurt him with the moonsault. Mm-hmm. We're in an MGM sold out. So, energy's up and everything. So I hit Doug, instead of hitting him chest-to-chest moonsault, I hit him with my head. And I head to chest to protect him. Later on, I got beat up a lot about that.
Right.
They said, you should have hit him the right way. But when I won it, I could not believe it. As a wrestling guy, you go, championships don't mean anything.
Right.
But if you're working in a story and you're doing that thing, it means a little more because you're really totally invested in what you're doing.
Right.
If you can tell that story. All I remember is when I won it, the next day we were in Irvine, California, and I had a concussion, and didn't realize I was on a plane, and we got to Irvine, and the next night the whole locker room emptied out.
Yep.
And did this tribute thing that I had no idea. No one talked to me all day.
So that was a surprise. So
no one talked to me all day. Chavo wasn't even talking to me.
Right.
I felt like everybody kind of was crapping on
the
win,
right.
And catering nothing, and nobody would tell me really what my segment was. They said, okay, here's a segment. You with me and Gene, we'll talk about the win. You and Major Guns or whatever it was.
Right.
And all of a sudden, here, everybody kept coming out. And Gene whispered in my ear, and he goes, it's about damn time. And so it was just it was a really good night. And thank goodness that Lance came out and Goldberg came out.
Right.
And then Lance came on the thing and tried to brought it back to the thing because otherwise I was done. I was like, that's about the coolest thing. And I said, I probably could have ended that.
Right there?
Yeah, I didn't need any more after that. So, but I remember that one. That one will stay with me. I remember that a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, where is the U.S. title?
Yeah, I don't know. That's my one wish.
To get the U.S. title?
And you look at it and you go, and it's like a thing, right? It's like your first football helmet, your first
right
home run, your first tackle, all the things you did in sports. I'm like, I don't have the Japanese ones I had.
Right.
Like, I was fortunate enough to be a champion everywhere I wrestled.
Right.
And I wanted that United States one because I had so much fun with it.
Yeah.
But
Listen,
we're working on it.
If you're listening right now and you know where Bill DeMott's United States Championship is, I need you to message
Send
us.
it
We
to
need
me.
to get that title for Bill.
We got to get it for him.
Send it to me.
You know, that's amazing. That's I think a
I have
great
the tough
memory.
enough. The closest wrestling belt I have now is the one-off tough enough belts that no one has.
Yeah, those are really cool.
Yeah, those you never see anywhere else.
The
I have
spinners,
tough enough
right?
belt, yeah.
Spinner, right? Those are awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You have those?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
King Tough Enough. Get the belt. Well, they gave them to the kids, and they at the end, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, what do they do with all of them?
Big pop. They trash them.
Really?
Yeah, they're one-offs. They're never made again.
Yeah.
So the kids, the ones who won, got the belt, and everybody else they returned them. And I said at the end, I was tight with the guy. I'm like, Big Papa needs one of those tough enough belts.
That's right.
Yeah, I would think that they would give you guys one.
Yeah,
Well, those things are no. Listen, regardless of what people think, they're no joke.
Oh, listen.
They're a couple grand.
I would imagine. So when I went to Mania, when I was here, we went to the Access, and you had the ability to hold one of the real championships.
Hey,
And
man.
I want to say it was the old Attitude Era Winged Eagle title.
Crazy.
Bret Hart?
No, the Stone Cold Steve Austin,
Cold, yeah.
right? And I have a replica one, which Bill signed actually when I first met him. But I have that, and then I held the real one. And man, the weight
It's
difference.
no joke.
No,
It's
it is
35 pounds in your bag, man. You had to carry it everywhere you went.
Oh yeah.
How did you
huge.
feel about that? How did
It
you
was,
feel about
the first. That's when you know you feel stupid, because they open your bag and go, "What's this?" Hi, my name is Bill DeMott. I'm the United States champion. And this is my belt. But usually by then, wherever we went, people kind of knew who you were. And
Yeah.
That's you, Morris. Let him go. Let him go. Except the time with the grenade in the airport. It's a different show.
Okay, so if you're from TSA or the FBI,
I
please
shut it down.
stop listening.
Shut it down.
now. What did you do, Bill?
I was with the Misfits, so my thing was I was with the Misfits, and I had a legitimate grenade that was hollowed out. It was a real grenade.
Did you make that, or did WCW get that?
No, that was given to me.
That was given to you.
So, excuse me. So I had the grenade. Everywhere I went, I had the grenade. Well, this time I taken it off my neck and I put it in my carry-on. I'm going through the thing. Boop, boop, boop. The guy opens the bag. Sir, you step over here. Every gate was shut. Everybody was detoured from the A side. They shut him down. Sir, this is a grenade. It's hollowed out, dude.
wow?
Like,
You weren't
I'm going to
freaking
be
out?
late. No, I'm going to be late for my flight. So I'm literally arguing with this guy. And the one guy goes, it's Hugh Morris. He goes, he's the wrestler. He's got the thing. There's the all my gear, but there's the grenade on top.
I guess pre 9/11, so probably wasn't like as.
It was brutal. So they shut everything down. The guy was like trying to read me the riot act. He goes, the FBI will be here in a minute. I'm like, how about this? How about you hold it? Let me go to work. And then when I come back, I'll pick it up from you. Like, then I was just starting to be like a wise, because I was
Yeah.
mad now.
Yeah.
And now he made like a big scene. They literally shut the whole side of the thing down.
Wow.
So, speaking of the Misfits, right? Between Dungeon of Doom and the Misfits,
grenade.
right? What do you still? Well, do you have?
I have, not that one. I have a grenade.
Agron. But so, were you happy with the Misfits? What was your favorite time for you, right? With everybody you worked with, what was your favorite time, Bill?
The Misfits, we had more freedom because by then it was the Russo. Every week, Russo was your boss, then Bischoff was your boss, then Sullivan was your boss. Then Bischoff was your boss, then Russo was your boss. And so we had a little bit of freedom. And they treated us like we got the name because that's how they treated us.
Right.
We weren't important. So they literally, you guys are a bunch of misfits. Put them together, let them do whatever they want. And we started to get over.
Right.
And they were like, oh, what else you want to do? So all the guys involved, Vince and Billy and Ed and all those guys, what do you got? Let's do this. And we just started running with it. So I think that was my favorite time because I had to lose the General Rection moniker. And that was supposed to be a one-shot deal that turned into a rib on me.
Right.
And I had the option of really blowing my top or running with it. And I ran with it.
Right.
But it allowed me to bring Hugh Morris back into the fold.
Right.
As the Misfits. And then that's where it led to, thank goodness it led to build them using my real name and doing what I was supposed to be doing from the beginning.
Right.
And then, led into WWE eventually, WWF. But I like the Misfits a lot. The dungeon was fun because I was with a bunch of the biggest wrestlers in the world. They were all veterans, and they were all dropping knowledge, and they were funny as hell.
Yeah.
You cannot ride with the one-man gang and not laugh, and because you're lost. And
Which now is, I kind of equate with riding with you when we go out to places. I'm dying. I'm rolling on the floor when we're in the car. It's
God,
fantastic.
they're so funny, those guys were.
So I'm going to throw something to you, Maury, right? And I'm going to put you on the spot, right? So, Maury, where were you when? What got you into the world of wrestling? What hooked you? What was your moment?
Oh, man. Well, I think we might have addressed this on the last one. But the big thing for me was whenever I saw, because my dad was really into wrestling, and that was like our bonding moment. But whenever the first like full match I ever saw was, and I saw like bits of my dad, but the one that stuck was Bret Hart versus Diesel in the cage, Undertaker coming up out of the ring.
That's what got you hooked on wrestling?
That's why I'm such a big Bret Hart mark. It was like the first real impression I had.
Really?
Interesting. I can tell you mine. It also had to do with Bret Hart, but it was earlier. I hated wrestling when I was a kid. When I was young, right? I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. And then one day I had my neighbor, and I don't remember what my neighbor's name was, but I remember I went to his house, and I had to be 7, 8 years old maybe, and I knocked on his door, and he opened the door, and he looked at me and said, "Get in here, Bret Hart's in the ring." And I had to fake it, right? I'm like, I don't know who the hell Bret Hart is. And I'm like, oh, Bret Hart, awesome. And we run into his house. It's like a Saturday morning. And I remember it was Bret Hart was in the ring with Yokozuna. And it had to be 91, 92, somewhere in that ballpark.
Was it the Mania match?
It was around WrestleMania 9. It was definitely before WrestleMania 10 because that was the first WrestleMania that I watched. Was WrestleMania 10. But so it had to be around WrestleMania 9 when this happened. And I want to say it was, it had to be Yokozuna and Bret Hart in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace.
You know what? I'm sitting there and I'm looking at you going, that's what got you into wrestling? But I forget that there's a generation between.
Yeah, I say.
I'm just sitting there going, how is that? And I'm going, wait a minute. You started wrestling at what year? Watching wrestling.
I started watching probably, 90?
Yeah, so we're talking about, so
4,
that's what I'm
5?
sitting there thinking. I'm like, how is that the one that grabbed you? But I'm coming from the 70s and 80s.
So Bret Hart was not your first impression of
No.
You know, so what was your first impression? Because I know it was Johnny Rods, right?
Well, Johnny trained me.
Right.
But my same as back home, back up north, the only thing we had was MSG, and that was Saturday nights. And it was always Bruno Sammartino. So it was Bruno Sammartino. There's Pedro Morales was always on the card. And the midgets. And we sat there with my grandfather. And he loved the midgets. You could say midget because that's what they were back then. Now they're little people, like ladies and gentlemen. But now you said midgets. So that's what got me hooked, was watching them hit Sky Low and those guys doing the tags and, all that stuff. And then watching Bruno. Back then, like, what I know about wrestling now, Bruno would have never hooked me now. Because he really didn't do much.
Right. So Bruno, okay, so let's talk about Bruno for a second. Where were you when Bruno lost the championship after 7 years?
Who did he lose to, Bob Backlund? No.
Oh, Audio Vine's keying us in here.
Who did he lose it to? You guys are the encyclopedias.
No.
We lost. Was it Ivan Koloff?
Was it Ivan Koloff, Uncle Ivan? Was that in the Garden?
It was in the Garden.
Well, then that's where I was, probably in Wyckoff, New Jersey, my grandfather's living room. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't go. I never went to a live wrestling show until after I got involved in wrestling, because I really had it didn't really hook me. That was my thing with my grandfather. Like, he thought that was funny, so I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Midgets and women.
And Ivan Koloff.
Ivan Koloff. Every one of those guys had chests on that were unbelievable.
Yeah.
Pedro Morales was my favorite guy back then. Pedro Morales was my guy.
That was your favorite?
Pedro Morales come out and fire up. It's all over.
So we know Bill's favorite was Pedro Morales. We know your favorite, right?
The Hitman.
Mine, the Heartbreak Kid.
Yep.
The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. He's the showstopper. I can, I remember everything about him. All of his WrestleMania moments. I mean, Mr. WrestleMania, Mr. Hall of Fame. He was my guy. Bill looks like he's ready.
Have
to
you
explode.
gone back to watch his first stuff and the AWA and all that stuff?
Yeah,
it's amazing. Is it same?
Yeah.
So I put Shawn Michaels in the same category with Kurt Hennig.
Yeah.
Those two kids coming up and learning their craft and doing and then becoming who they became. It's to me that's the coolest. That's the student part about wrestling that I like.
Yeah.
That's what makes me like those guys more. To see what they came through and how they made their craft.
So speaking of crafts, so Maury, let's go back to you for a second, right?
Do you do crafts?
I don't.
Where's this going?
I don't know.
Just follow me on this one, right?
Okay.
I did go to Michael's before, but I didn't know you knew that, Jimmy.
I know everything. So Maury, let's talk about your film work for a minute. Okay, so what got you into film?
What got?
Do you know Mike Douglas is?
Mike Douglas.
Mike Douglas was a variety show host, and you're like Mike Douglas.
I'm gonna say thank you.
Yeah, Mike Douglas is okay. Like Dick Cavett.
Yeah.
Dick Cavett. Anybody? I dare someone my age to be on this show. Audio Bond, nod. Thank you.
So, funnily enough.
Funnily
enough.
Is that how do you say it?
Funny.
Funny enough.
What's funnily?
Funnily.
Hashtag funnily. I don't know.
Hashtag funnily enough.
I've heard it before. Listen, I don't know.
Funny enough.
Funny. I almost couldn't repeat you there. Funny enough, part of this episode today is going to be fan mail, and we actually got a question about my film and your magic. So if you want, I could go into that.
Yeah, please.
That's
a good segue. It's almost like I knew that.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's almost like I showed you the questions.
How come nobody shows me nothing?
Well, this question doesn't pertain to you, Bill. Just come on. So from Mike R. Okay, the show is great. I love this. He segues in so well. The show's great. It's much different than a traditional wrestling podcast. Now I know who Bill is. Obviously, who are the other two Marks on the show?
Mark is a good word.
Because your name.
Well, yeah, my legal name is Mark, but.
See what I did there?
That was good.
Although you kicked me out of the question.
Yeah. And
don't worry, all of the other ones are pretty much for you. So.
And no dinner.
So, well, who are you, Maury? What?
Okay, so I'll start, and then Jimmy, you go.
Sure.
So this Mark over here, right? So good.
It's funny because it's true.
But basically, my background is in film. Big horror fanatic. Love working in film. It's something I've been doing for a little bit now. So right now I'm working on my first horror feature. But I've worked on some big movies too, like Dark Knight Rises. I've worked on Jack Reacher. I've worked with TLC on the show My Crazy Obsession. So really, I guess my contribution here is a film background to the show. And Bill, I know you have a couple events coming up, so I'm going to be filming that.
Does anybody else see flashing lights in here?
I don't know
Somebody flogging my mutton? What's going on there? Yeah, you are filming my stuff.
I am filming. Jimmy, you got a flashlight. Somebody needs to take it away
from
you.
Oh, God. Like, I don't have enough head trauma as it is.
For those of you who don't know, Jimmy got a hold of a flashlight and just decided to flash Bill in the face with it.
Apparently it has new batteries. Because I see dead people. See? Horror movies.
That was good. Thank you.
I try to keep it on there.
Well, listen, when as time progresses, you'll be able to actually watch us do this, and you can see the shenanigans that we all pull on each other as we're recording.
That's right. Yeah, it's.
Bill is still blinking, looking around because he sees dots.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, so Jimmy, I'm the film guy.
Right.
I'm the filmmaker. What is your contribution to this show besides flashing lights in people's faces?
Right. So, being a magician, being an entertainer, I'll tell you exactly what got me. I got a magic kit when I was 7 years old. I got a Houdini's magic kit, and I opened that up for Christmas, and I couldn't put it down. And what I love about performing is I love making people laugh. I love giving them a memory. I love taking away whatever's going on with them right now, right? Because so when people they come to my show, they see the show, they pay their hard-earned money to get entertained. and I want to deliver a quality performance for them every time. And I look at it this way. One of the most amazing moments in my short-lived career here as an entertainer, and I use the word amazing lightly because it was very traumatic for the people going through it. There was a show I was doing, and there was a family that got up in the middle of the show, and I see them come back a few minutes later, and the mom or elderly grandmother, I couldn't tell, is hysterical. And you could see she'd been crying. I'm like, what is going on here? So I found out later on that they got a phone call during the show that her son had passed away. Middle of the show. He was battling cancer, middle of the show, passed away. He was in hospice. They had come here basically say their last goodbyes. But the family decided to come out for a night, try to get everybody's mind off of their struggles, and they went to see the show. And I found that out after that they decided to stay because the woman said, I need some happiness in my life. I'm going to have enough sorrow over the next couple of days. Wow. And that was such a moment for me to sit back and say, that is why I do what I do. That's why I do magic and I entertain. Because if you think about it as a magician, Teller used to say, magicians are honest liars. You know, we're going to cheat you. For 60 minutes, I'm going to lie to you. The question that I'm going to ask you at the end of that 60 minutes is, were you ripped off or were you entertained? And I want to entertain you. I want to take that moment, take you away from whatever your stressors are, and just make you laugh. Bring that childlike wonder, much like Bill did to me, or the wrestlers did to me when I was a kid, right? I would watch them, and it was a fantasy land I can live in.
I wanted to take your money.
You want to take my money?
I didn't want to entertain them.
No, you just wanted my money.
I just wanted the money. And then I realized I didn't get paid right away, so that was no more fun. But you were on America's Got Talent.
I was on America's Got Talent. I was on America's Got Talent twice, actually.
You probably would have been on a third time. I'm just going to put over the fact you were on America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
But you would have been on there a third time if you weren't afraid of planes.
Yeah, probably. So I am terrified of planes.
You let an airplane get in your way?
No, well, I let Pierce Morgan get in my way. So basically what happened, if you've never heard the story, and I mean, we've never discussed it on
with Pierce Morgan.
Yeah, never discussed it on the podcast.
Or off the podcast. I don't even know this story.
So let's tell you. Let me put it into perspective here. So I did a trick. It was many years ago. It was a paintball bullet catch, and it was a paintball bullet catch, and it was called, for the magicians listening, Velocity by Scott Alexander. So I did the paintball bullet catch for America's Got Talent. The producers loved it, and they said, we're going to put you to Miami. And that's where I was from. I was from Fort Lauderdale, and said, you're going to film in Miami on the show. And I said, okay, that's awesome. And I go to the Jackie Gleason Theater in Miami, and we're in the backstage kind of holding area. And it was great because I was supposed to be the first act of the second half of the day. I was going to go on like a 1 o'clock right after lunch. Well, being in TV production, things ran late. They got through maybe 4 acts in the morning instead of the 8 that they had scheduled. And all 4 acts that first morning all went through to the next round. It was fantastic. So I'm backstage. I'm like, this is really great. Like this, I got a good shot. They're in a good mood. Everybody's coming back, and I made it to Vegas. Everybody's doing good. So after lunch, we're getting ready to film, and the producer comes up and he pulls me aside. He said, listen, we've decided to cut any dangerous acts just for the sheer time. We're only going to do singers, dancers, things like that. Anything that's danger, we're going to move you to another city and another venue.
Screwed.
Yep. I'm like, oh, I'm done. So they said, we'll call you sometime this week and let you know where they're going to film. So a couple of days ago, I was devastated, right? I'm like, this was my moment, and now who knows if it'll ever come again. About 3 days later, I got a phone call from NBC, and they said, we're going to fly you to Los Angeles, fly to Hollywood to film AGT in Hollywood. You're going to fly out on Monday. You're going to film Tuesday. We'll fly you back Wednesday. So I fly out, and I am terrified of flying because of the movie La Bamba, which is my favorite movie, and I have a connection to that movie, and we'll talk about that later on in the podcast in various episodes. But we fly out to Hollywood. I get there, and I couldn't fly with the CO2 cartridges to make the paintball gun work, so we had to find a Walmart there, and the Walmarts in Hollywood are not like they are here. So it took about 4 hours to find the cartridge. I get on the show. Everything gets great. The trick works fantastic. Nick Cannon was the host. He loved the effect. And then after it was all done, I never got buzzed, never got X'd, right? I go to the big giant X on the floor, and I'm looking at the 3,000 people, and looking back at the stage, and I'm like, man, this is it. I made it, right? I'm on America's Got Talent. This was my pinnacle. And Pierce Morgan said, so that was all just a scam. And I said, I'm sorry, what? He said, that was just a scam. You really didn't just do that. And I looked at him and said, yes, I did. I said, no, you didn't. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. I said, what are we, 6? Like, why are we arguing about this? And he said, you mean to tell me that bullet came out of that gun? I said, yes, it did. He said, no, it didn't. There's no way. He said, tell me how it's done or I'm not going to send you to the next round.
Wow.
And I said, well, sir, I'm not the masked magician. I'm not going to reveal the effects. That's not going to happen.
That's really disrespectful to
Very.
ask somebody to do that.
Yep. So I was not sent through because I would not reveal the secret to the effect.
I would have dimed out my mother in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Well, so
I would have showed him so much.
I would have showed him exactly how it worked. I'll tell you. Not I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to show you. And I would have popped him right in the kisser with the yellow paintball.
So here's what's funny is we had talked about that with the producers originally because they had built a target for me because Nick Cannon fired the paintball gun on the stage and he fired it at a target. Originally, the target was supposed to be Pierce Morgan's picture because we knew he was that.
That was the worst. Now that I hear it again, I totally regret asking about that story.
Yeah, so
I regret hearing about it. Bill.
Pierce Morgan's a douche.
Yeah, hashtag. So,
Pierce Morgan's
but
a
here's the thing: is
douche.
I had integrity. So the trick is by Scott Alexander, and I was not going to give the effect to somebody else that made it, and he sells it and he uses
Did
it.
Scott Alexander thank you?
For not Scott Alexander, I talked to him a couple of weeks later, and he said, obviously you fooled him so bad that he had to know how it was done. But you know what? Like we talked about last episode with Billy Gunn, right? That was a win for me because here's what they didn't say. They didn't say, you suck, go home. They didn't say, go do something else. They didn't say, never, you'll give up on your dream, right? The constructive piece of criticism I did get was from Sharon Osbourne, who compared it to a singer and said, I think you're a good entertainer, but I think it was just a wrong trick. They said, for this show, we want to see something a lot bigger. It was like a singer who's a good singer but just chooses the wrong song and doesn't highlight what they can do. But to me, that was a win, right? That was great. And then I got to have a free trip to Hollywood on NBC's dime. I went to the Walk of Fame. I went to the Magic Castle in Hollywood. I got to see Murray, the magician, and Fielding West. It was a fantastic night, a once-in-a-lifetime experience, I was happy.
No.
Bill's not happy with it.
No.
Bill's not happy. I'm not all that happy.
Because he always puts the smiley face emoji on.
I do.
Like, I want to hear you say, that sucked. Like, listen, if you would have had Howie Mandel and that Heidi Klum, you would have been in.
Yeah, I think so. And you know what? I've always said one day I'll go back when the trick is right and I have the right routine. And I will divulge this now. I am working on something right now to audition with again. And it's been 10 years since I've been on America's Got Talent. It was season 4 when I was on. And they showed all of 3.5 seconds of the entire performance.
Here's the most important question of the whole night.
Yeah.
How come no one wants to know how come I know who the judges are in America's Got Talent?
Were you?
I just named 2 of the judges, and Maury's like, yeah, I agree.
Well, we assume that you watch the show. How do you know the judges on America's Got Talent?
Yeah, I watch it. It's one of my favorites.
okay. Yeah, well,
Is that your guilty pleasure?
That is, because if you think Bill DeMott, you're not thinking America's Got Talent.
Yeah, you're thinking of like
So-
reruns of Walker the Texas Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
See, I knew it.
funny thing
That,
is this.
and everybody loves Raymond.
Yeah. My favorite episode is when when Robert applies for the FBI. That is my favorite episode. Because Marie is my mother. And you've met my mother.
You don't have to tell me
met your
Marie's
mother.
your mother.
You've met my. You know, if you were listening to the show and you've met my mother, thank you. Thank you for still listening. If you have not listened to the show,
I want her on as a guest.
no.
And
no,
everything,
two.
Audio Vaughn,
That's a 2
get the
against
beep
1.
machine. Because Mama got a forked tongue.
All right. Well, listen. That's enough talking about my mama. Because here's the thing: is she's actually going to call me later and be like, "So when can I come on the show?"
So
Yeah.
You know she's
talked
listening
about
and
me?
She's ready to come
Yeah.
on the show.
Oh my God! I heard you on the
So?
radio. You talked. You were with Bill and who's that other guy? Audio Vaughn.
You know
so
what's funny
funny.
is she like didn't talk to me for like the whole day, and then whenever she found out I was an Italian, she like was like.
Now, what does that mean? Found out you were an Italian.
He was flashing the signs.
Yeah, but why are you gonna be an Italian?
Ask her. She must only like Italians. I don't know.
No, I disagree.
She likes
She's
you.
a people person.
She is a people person.
I'm Italian. What do you mean she likes me?
She likes you.
Yeah, but you made it sound like I'm not Italian or anything, and she likes me.
Well, Bill, there's a lot to like. Well, but listen, we're running out of time, and we have one more segment we want to get to. We have got a lot of great questions from our fans this week. So why don't you get to read a couple of questions, and let's just get in and answer them.
Yeah, so we have a lot of questions. So we're going to answer a couple now, and then you know what, we have more for the next show. But I have some really good questions. This one is from Garen Turner. How do the wrestlers feel about the fans making WWE and AEW more of a war than the actual people involved? I think it's a great question.
Well, that's a terrible question. Look here in the studio. What wrestlers are you gonna ask?
We're asking you, Bill.
I'm not a wrestler anymore. I'm out of date. That's a terrible. What's his name? Garen Turner.
Garen Turner.
Garen. That's a great question for a wrestling locker room.
Okay, but you kind of lived through this kind of situation.
What's the question now? Because I don't like it.
Okay. How do wrestlers feel about fans making WWE and AEW more of a war than the actual
I
people
think
involved?
I think it's the worst thing ever. We talk about social media all the time. You're never gonna make what? Listen, the fact that you say you're a fan, then you shouldn't be on social media grabbing at everybody.
Yep.
And I say this because listen, take all your followers, your tweeters, the people you like, and all these things. You got 2 million followers, and if you ever wound up in an emergency room, how many of those 2 million would be there by your side? 0.
Yep.
So that's how it holds water with me. But if you're a fan, quit critiquing everything, and be a fan.
Yep.
That's how I feel about it. I think there's no stopping it because keyboard cowboys. You know, everybody can say whatever they want.
It's
if you're a
warriors,
fan,
keyboard
be a
warriors.
fan. Keyboard cowboy.
I think you invented. I never heard. I always hear keyboard warriors.
No, warriors are people who will go to war with it. They're all cowboys.
They're cowboys.
Cowboys lose to Indians every day.
Hashtag keyboard cowboys.
Hashtag. Why can't Mr. Snowman and Mrs. Snowman
Oh my God.
have baby snowmen?
Why, Bill?
Because Mrs. Snowman doesn't have snowballs. Hashtag Christmas humor.
Wait a minute, Mrs. You said Mrs. Snowman doesn't have snowballs. Shouldn't it be Mr.?
No?
Wait. I don't. I'm confused.
What's question number 2?
All right, this one you'll like. This one is. This is probably my favorite question of the week.
Hashtag snowballs audio bomb.
Hashtag snow.
I told you I was going to get my hashtag in.
All right, this is from Danny Burt. Bill, when you debuted during the Invasion angle on June 4th, 2001
Yep.
on Raw
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
by Attacking Edge,
So that you knew where you were.
how was your day leading up to the debut? Any
My
nerves?
day was long, and the coolest part about my day was, you know, everything was top secret. So they flew me in Air Victrola, which means the plane had no wings or engine, and it was a big rubber band. They shot me out of Newark, New Jersey, and wherever I landed, I had to walk to Minnesota from there. They put me up. I think we landed something like 3 o'clock in the morning. The coolest part was I went to Hertz to pick up my car, and who was next to me was Daryl Hall from Hall & Oates.
Wow.
Who's a big wrestling fan. So while I was waiting for cars, I'm sitting at 3 o'clock in the morning talking to Daryl Hall about wrestling, and then went to my rinky-dink. It was so hush-hush, I went to a hotel that didn't have a bed. And then I just stood in the corner and closed my eyes and reported to the building and hid until it was time to come out for the invasion. But it was really cool. That my day was long. It was nerve-wracking because they didn't tell you what you were doing.
So no.
Someone
build-up.
called you. I got my call from, I want to say it was JR, or it could have been JR or Johnny Ace at the time. And they said, you'll be in Minnesota. Someone will meet you there. And that was all it was said. Click, tickets, get your ticket. I got on the plane, the whole thing. No one said a word to me. I pulled up into the thing. I was shuttled off into a corner. and no one told me what to do until about an hour, as they're going live. And it was like, okay, Demott, come over here. I'm like, holy jeez. Once you get last name, that's it. So that was my first day. And it was freaking awesome, but it was a long day.
That would have been amazing. All right, question.
Darrell Hall, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Private eyes.
All right, we don't want to get copywritten over here, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you that next question.
You're up
Hashtag
to 30
snowballs.
seconds. You can say whatever you want. Hashtag snowballs all you want.
Okay, so this one's from Tony Mussolino.
That's not a real name, by the way.
Oh, it's a real name.
That can't be a real name.
That's really his name. I know.
Because he typed it? Oh, you know him.
Yeah, I actually know this person.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm going to read this question.
He's an Italian.
He paid him
He
to
is
write
an Italian.
write the question.
Jimmy's mom would like his. No, actually, this question, Bell, this one I think is what everybody's wanting to know, but this is the one that he asked, okay? So, might get some heat here, but asking thoughts on Kenny Omega.
What meaning?
So,
that's a.
I think because, here's the thing with Kenny Omega, and again, I don't know the context here, but Kenny Omega is very split in seeming the wrestling world and by fans. Well, maybe not as much fans. The wrestling world. I guess, where do you stand on him? Obviously, I think people think there's some heat there with you guys.
Yeah, there's no heat. I've said it before. When I met Kenny Omega back in 2004 or 5, when he came to Atlanta, when he came in the Deep South, what year was it? Oh, I thought you knew what year it was.
It's 2019 right now.
They were doing. So Kenny just had this. He had this quirky way of doing things, and he was like a unique cat then, and he was younger then. Right? I mean, we're talking about 15 years ago, and he wanted to do things the way he wanted to do them. And we tried to explain to him, things are done this way till people get to know you, and then you can do your thing. And it just wasn't a fit for him at the time. I said it then, I stood by it. To me, he was the next Chris Jericho. The kid could move. Back then, he was an athlete. He could move, and he did all these things. He went on to Japan. He did all this stuff, and he's half rock star entertaining, and then but the guy can go. So I think Kenny Omega, and I said again, he's the next Jericho. But right now he gets that creative freedom, and that's why he is where he is, because he still has that freedom to do. Like what was it last week? He came out in a character that nobody knew.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was, or the promo.
But there's a couple of people who knew the character, so he played to them, which then lit Twitter on fire. How dare you? We put all our money in the AEW. Oh, you just lost fan. You didn't lose nobody. You're a Kenny Omega fan. You're a Kenny Omega fan. Yeah. So I'm a fan of what he does. You know what I mean? Whether it's reciprocated, I don't know, and it really doesn't apply to how I feel about him as a wrestler. So I'd watch him. I think he's doing good. He's a success. So I'm a fan of what he does, and you just got to take. You have to understand he's quirky like that, but so is Rollins, so is Sami Zayn, so is Pac, so are all these guys. And the thing with the ones who stay WWE or the ones who move on is WWE. You have to earn the right to get creative first, and then and I think that's what Cody and the Bucks and Omega and those guys are doing is. Well, we're creative, so we're going to do it this way. And so I think it's fine. If it's your cup of tea, they should be a fan of his. But either way, no doubting who he is as a wrestler performer. I'm a fan of it.
Good. So we got one from Edward Updegrove.
Up
the Grove.
Now, that might be a fake name.
That is not.
That's a real name. I know that for a fact.
He does.
Wow.
He knows for a fact. So, Ed Up the Grove. So, I'm going to kind of paraphrase because it's a long question. So, Bill, we're going to talk about NXT for a moment here. NXT, at one point in time, kind of look at a developmental system, right? And guys are working their way up to the main roster. Now, it's kind of losing a little steam where people are just going interchangeable. Right, main roster guys are going down to NXT, right? Like we saw Finn Balor, we see Breezango, they're going down there, and it's kind of lost that appeal, so to speak, of this is developmental. These are guys working their asses off to get to the main roster.
Right.
What is your take on it? What is your take on the interchangeable superstars going from one brand to another?
And NXT has never been. NXT was considered developmental because it came out of Performance Center.
Right.
And before the Performance Center, it was in Tampa. So it was considered developmental because that's where we were training the wrestlers, and that was the product that was coming out. So the earlier versions of NXT were it's a developmental system. It lets you cut your teeth. NXT then blew up into its own brand. So the conversation of a developmental system and NXT are two different things. Developmental's Performance Center, NXT's the brand. There's certain... I always believed that as it was coming in Paul's vision of NXT and where he wanted to go, I always believed that there were certain people who did not have to go to the main roster.
Stay at NXT.
Stay in NXT because that's what made NXT special. And NXT was special because of that group of people that started it when we were there and started it.
Yeah.
That was a special group. So special that someone else had to have them.
Right.
You were making stars, so someone had to take the star. Mm-hmm. You know, we never got to see what Liaki could do. He became Roman Reigns overnight, and the Shield was born. No one got to see Liaki ever work. You know, so they saw things and went, "Whoa, they got to go. The girls got to go." No, please don't take the girls. Let Bayley stay here a little longer. Let this one stay here a little longer. Let Finn stay here a little longer. Let Seth stay here a little longer. Let Dean stay here a little longer. Because you were building the NXT brand, and now NXT had stroke.
Right.
But at the time, it was still considered, well, they're there to get to here.
Right.
But
now it seems like they're there, and everybody else is trying to get there.
So it goes back to the conversation we had a week or two ago about Nitro and Thunder. They had to make Thunder because people only the A group could be on Nitro, but they had so much talent they made a second show. Then when Thunder started out drawing Nitro, all your A players wanted to go to Thunder, and then you had to move your B players to. And then Saturday night's main event made the biggest thing. So now you all three. So I put it as Nitro, Thunder, and Saturday night's main event. But now here's the problem. It's all the same company. It's all the same company. So my opinion is, I think it hurts NXT.
Right.
I think it'll continue to hurt NXT. I mean, look at this past week, everybody going up there for whatever reasons.
Right.
But now they're going to come back down here. So big production, big lights, bigger music, everything. Smaller production, smaller lights, smaller effects, things like that. So you're going up and down, up and down. And if you're interchangeable all the time, what am I going to watch?
Right. You're losing that moment. That
now
magical
Finn
moment.
belongs there. Now we know he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's staying.
He's staying. But now Adam Cole just had a hell of an outing for a week.
Oh man!
Now Adam Cole's going to come back down.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
so
some it'll work with, some it won't.
So we're running out of time. We got a couple more questions, Bill. I'm going to ask you one more quick one here. Is there, kind of piggybacking off of that, is there anybody on the main roster that you would like to see maybe go back to NXT that you think can excel and really make a name for the brand or for themselves at NXT?
No, I don't think there's I don't think there's anybody that can go back. NXT's turned the corner talent-wise. The talent's different now than it was 3 years ago. Than it was during the Rollins and Ambrose and Charlotte and Sasha and all that era. The girls are different. The guys are different. So I think it'd be hard for them to fit back in that role. You could take a Seth Rollins right now, and if he went back to NXT, I think he'd be lost in the shuffle. Those stories are made. The guys are made. And now you're asking those guys to take a back seat. Granted, world champion, universal champion, all these things. But I don't think people going back are going to get over.
Do you think it could ever change to where it's not going back? It would be like going from Raw to SmackDown?
I think it could get there. I
would
don't
love
think
to see
there's
that.
powers to be that thing you can get there. And I think it's always going to be treated as you're going back to NXT.
I agree. That's how I see it as a fan. And NXT is by far my favorite of any wrestling on
Because
television today.
don't forget with NXT, though, so now you have your TV product, but they're still out running live events. So there's a B team, and I say B team respectfully, or number 2 team, or the next team, or whatever they are. There's a travel team, like in football. The travel squad's out there working, too.
Yep.
So you got all those cats that you haven't learned about yet that are still going to come into this fold. Because I think we've weeded out, we've taken from all the independents
Right.
that you can now. So now it's back to building from within.
Yeah.
So when you bring a guy down, he better be a hell of a hand, you know, because you still got all these guys and gals you haven't even heard of yet. That's
What-
producer Cat says.
I promise no
That's
cats
it.
have been injured during the filming of this
No
podcast.
cats have been injured during the filming of this podcast.
Although if I don't get some dinner, there may be a cat that's... No, I can't because it's Game Changer.
Hashtag snowballs.
Hashtag snowballs.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, I can't say ladies and gentlemen.
You can't say it.
Anybody that is listening, anybody that's left that is still listening.
I got one for you.
Oh, God.
How many Italians does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I don't know, but
Me neither. How'd they even get in there?
On that note, ladies, or whatever,
how'd
thank
they get
you.
in the light bulbs?
It's been a great episode.
Screw in the light
We'll
bulb?
see you in a couple
Yeah,
weeks.
that's great.
And if you're not down with that,
I got 2 words for you. Snowballs.
Hey everyone, Audio Vaughn here. Our local Orlando real estate market seems to be on fire. Prices keep rising, rents are super high, inventory levels for homes are very low, and overall, many people in our community are always wondering, is now a good time to buy or sell? Well, before answering that question, our good friends at H6 Homes recommend that the first step in your home buying journey should always be educating yourself on all things needed to understand the home buying process. They say that the 3 biggest mistakes a home buyer makes are 1. Starting to shop for a home before you know your budget, 2. Not hiring the best people for your real estate team, and 3. Not following a simple structured process to get the best home buying experience. H6 Homes have developed a simple but effective 7-step process to take someone who doesn't know anything about the home process to someone who is confident, comfortable, and educated on everything that's needed to buy a home. Maury himself can speak from experience. They helped him buy his first home and was also able to save money by using them. They are one of the few agents in the city that are allowed to work directly with the members of local credit unions, and they offer a 20% rebate back at closing that helps offset some of your closing costs and moving expenses just for being a member of a credit union. If anyone wants to learn more about H6 Homes, their process for helping homebuyers, and their rebate program, feel free to find them at h6homes.com.